I am going to talk, get in my presentation to something I call the content marketing cycle. Before I get there, I'm going to give you some context and some background as to why today, why we're talking about what we're going to talk about today, why the particular assortment of presenters that we've brought here today. Now, before I do that, I want to ask a very, very, very important question about content marketing. How many content marketers does it take to change a light bulb? Anybody want to hazard a guess? Two? All right. Well, you know, that's not the correct answer. The correct answer is it's not about changing the light bulb. It's about engaging people in a conversation about changing the light bulb. All right. Okay, now, but seriously, how many does it take to change, content marketers does it take to change the light bulb? It takes 8, okay? It takes 1 to start searching relevant keywords about how to change a light bulb. It takes 1, and by the way, you know, I'm not going to make gratuitous butt-kissing mentions of our sponsors at all during our presentation. Okay. With that out of the way, it takes 1 to create an editorial calendar using Divi HQ. To get it all organized. It takes 1 to write a blog called 3 Ways to Change a Light Bulb and post that through Compendium. It takes 1 to distribute that blog and other content through Twitter, Facebook, and into your own website and blog, etc., using Cadence 9. It takes 1 to actually create a news feed of industry reporting about changing light bulbs and curate that into your blog, et cetera, with Curata. It takes 1 to shoot a video, maybe by FusionSpark Media, called Shit That Content Marketers Say, and play that through your MeBox player. It takes 1 to gather all the names and email addresses via a white paper download and track that all using Manticore. And then it takes 1 to follow up on all that information, call people up and say, how may I help you change your light bulb? And so all joking aside, that is kind of the path that we talk about, that we will be talking about today in terms of the how to do content marketing. A little, just one more bit about our background. My brother is my business partner, so we were starting way back in our youth in Florida, sitting by Blue Springs Run, looking at manatees and bass and things, thinking deeply about content marketing, even back then. So Kevin's here in the front row. This is my brother, Kevin Sparkman. He's based in New Jersey. Together, I like to say that we have, we have backgrounds that now go back, kind of like what Rod was saying, doing content marketing before we even knew or thought there was a term for it. How did I get started in this? Well, I'm actually a photographer. So how the heck did I get from being a photographer, doing assignments like this out in the wilderness, to standing on a stage here today about content marketing? Well, the path actually started because I had kind of figured out in the late 90s some ideas about how the internet was going to be used to tell stories. And we actually pitched and we got some projects funded. One of those was a project called Florida Springs. We did this for the Florida Department of Environmental Protection. And it's chock full of audiovisual storytelling, animated infographics. We did this all back in 2002. This project, actually, that was funded by the Florida Department of Environmental Protection ended up winning an online reporting award from the Society of Environmental Journalists. That project itself was kind of an outgrowth of the original project that got started, something called One World Journeys, in which we were doing these live from the field expeditions. This is circa 2000, 2001. This is one we did in this region, Salmon, Spirit of the Land of the Sea. Again, chock full of all kinds of really compelling content. This is also an early example of branded storytelling on the internet. So since then, we've done oodles and oodles and oodles of projects, very content-intensive projects in which we have done everything from actually coming up with the concept, pitching them, getting them funded, to doing the content strategy, content development, website development, and then promoting them. Now, an interesting thing is that along the way, we were discovering things about the role of content in terms of reaching out to people in marketing communications campaigns, public awareness campaigns, and so on. We found out that using quality content, you would actually get high search engine rankings. We didn't know what the hell high search engine rankings meant in the beginning, but we did discover that when we were producing our projects, if you searched about the subject matter, they were turning up in number 1, 2, 3 in Google. And the connection was because we really had the best content on the subject matter there. We also were discovering that quality content had a long-lasting evergreen value. That Florida project is 10 years old. When we relaunched it about a year ago, we repurposed 90% of that content into the relaunch. That site remains the #1 site for all the relevant keywords on Google. You know, it kind of goes in the face of some of those things that you hear about churn. You have to churn, you know, content through day in and day out to get high search rankings. We're getting high search rankings with just quality content that's 10 years old on that one site. So we also learned that it drives conversions and it can lead to measurable ROI, and of course, very much related to what Rod was talking about today. It helps drives conversation. Okay, so with all of those really great, you know, points about the value of content that we've been talking about for 10 years, you know, what kind of image do you think people might have for people coming in and pitching, you know, content? You know, we want you to invest in quality content because you're going to realize all those great benefits. Well, I have to tell you that honestly, sometimes I felt like people think of us like this. You know, it's sort of like, okay, used car salesman hawking content and killer ROI. But this stuff is all very, very legitimate. It really does deliver these things. Now, one of the problems has been, and I'm going to channel Andrew Davis at TPL Drew, who was a speaker here last year. He talked about, you know, part of the problem with this in the context of the marketing, the CMO today, the marketing manager today, the marketing director, they don't necessarily have in the content marketing officer's pizza a content slice. You know, they have a slice for website and for TV and traditional ad and pay-per-click, et cetera. But there has not traditionally been a slice carved out for creating and owning one's original content. It just has not been there. Is that more or less the case there, Rod? You're a CMO. I got a head shake on that. That's good. All right, so, you know, I was looking for some answers, case studies, and things like this around 2007, 2008, as to, you know, who else is out there experiencing the same things that we were experiencing, seeing the same things that we were experiencing. And that's when I came across Joe Polizzi's book, Get Content, Get Customers. And what I really liked about the book is that Joe in this book was really making, for the first time I had seen, the connection between earning media, between earning awareness through quality content that's relevant and compelling to the target audience. Okay, and that's how, and making the point that there's a lot more value to that than, for example, buying awareness through advertising that even over 100 years ago, you know, marketers and advertisers were questioning the value of that paid advertising. Okay, and then also compared to begging for awareness, i.e., public relations. All right, so then, you know, to further contextualize this, there's social media, circa 2006. It's this warm, fuzzy, cute thing. You on Facebook? I'm on Facebook. You know, and everybody's getting on Facebook, and everybody's getting on Twitter, and it's really a lovely and fun and engaging way to make connections with, or be stalked by old girlfriends and boyfriends from high school or whatever. But if you're a marketer and you're wondering how you're going to use it, it's kind of grown into this big monster, right? It's like, feed me, feed me, feed me. Social media circa 2012, if you're trying to use it as a marketer, is a very hungry beast for content, okay? So how do we as marketers address that? Well, there's been in the past few years a number of good books, just in the past year actually. Polizzi's book, Get Content, Get Customers, came out in 2008. Content Rules was last year. Digital Impact was last year. The point about bringing these up is that those books, in addition to tens of thousands of blog posts and ebooks and white papers, et cetera, they've largely been addressing the why, okay? But they haven't really addressed the how-to, or they are starting to address the how-to, and people are starting to pay more attention to the how-to of doing this, which is a big point of today. So, so you need content to succeed, and to succeed you need process, and you need skills, and you need tools. So 3 key takeaways for today is, I want you to take away from today that content marketing is new, and it's challenging, but it's also fun and rewarding when it's done well. And that in the process, and that in order to think and act like a marketer, or in order to think like a marketer and act like a publisher, you need process. And that there are existing tools and emerging tools to help aid that process. Furthermore, I'd like you to understand that you have no choice. Because if you're not doing this, okay, you can rest assured that probably your competitor is. And in that scenario, Confucius once said, whoever has the best content wins. That's a joke, Heather. So here's what's going to happen for today. 5 to 6 of the presentations today are going to be about platforms and tools. And what that really is going to represent is like the Hubble the Space Telescope, the Deep Field Telescope. That's only looking at a very, very narrow width and a very narrow band of the galaxy, right? So today we're going to be hearing from people that represent sort of just a few of the types of tools that exist and are emerging out of what really is a vast universe of these tools. And one of the things that I hope that you get out of it is that an appreciation for the work that some of the people that represent these products have put into their tools, but also add to your vocabulary, add to your understanding of what's emerging, so that going forward from here, you're able to evaluate not only what's here, but what else is out there to find the tools that might help you become better content marketers. There's an element of that. If you go to langley-newmedia.com, you go to the blog, the most recent blog post there has, I've actually posted 7 tweets related to the 7 stages of the content marketing cycle. And different aspects of what you need to do to succeed will be talked about by different presenters today. Just very quickly, the cycle begins with analytics and insight. Who are we going to speak to? What are our desired outcomes? Who are our top priority target audiences? And then from there, you can begin to draft a content strategy. Your content strategy is a process of mapping your content to achieving those specific desired outcomes for specific target audiences. From there, you have a plan for what is the original content that you're going to create. From there, you can move on to thinking about what is the content you're going to curate. What is the contextually related content created by others that you can pull into your website or into your social media channels that helps add further credibility to yourself or your company, et cetera. From there, we think about distribution. Where is the audience? How are we going to reach them? Pretty much anywhere, anytime, on any device of their choice, okay? And we also want to, in today's world, begin to bake in from the outset of the content marketing cycle plans for how we're going to invite participation, as Rod was pointing out this morning. Participation in telling the story. Finally, you're always evaluating and reevaluating what you're doing, making adjustments, and starting the whole thing over again. So, content marketing is a promise. It's a promise to be consistent, and it's a promise to be persistent in terms of providing relevant and compelling content to your audiences. So thank you very much. That's my time. Thank you.